always entitled to have a bad day. We're always entitled to have a day where we're not optimistic. But long term, and in our life moving forward, it's having this optimistic outlook on life. Life is too short to think negatively all the time or to not have an optimistic outlook on life.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Eternal Optimist podcast. I'm your host, Matt Drinkon, and today we have another opportunity to learn from a master, a wizard, if you will, in his own sense in the world that he's involved in. My guest today is Mr. Glenn Kliemisch. And Glenn, he's coming to us. I'm just going to let Glenn set the stage here because he was referred to by my website designer, an entrepreneur in the Northeast part of our country. And I'm going to let Glenn kind of give some context. So Glenn, can you just tee us up here? What might be just 2 or 3 pieces of information about you to set the stage for our audience on who Glenn Kliemisch is?
Absolutely. So I think before we hopped on, I was talking about a friend of mine, Shane Squarick, who has also been featured on this podcast. He also does my website, helps me with social media and just promoting my business. So my business name is called MST Tutoring, which stands for Math, Science, and Test Preparation. And I think just to kind of set the stage here, this was a business that I officially formed the LLC back in 2016 and made it and decided to go all in on this venture full time in late 2017 and 2018. And I've been continuing the business since then. I now have a team of about, I want to say 12 or 13 part-time tutors. I really would want to, I think I should know that number offhand, but sometimes I always guesstimate it. I have 2 office assistants and a virtual assistant who definitely helps with a lot of the social media that we do. And it's just something that I'm really excited to be a part of. We work with kids anywhere from grade school all the way up to introductory level college courses. So we're working with students in the SAT and the ACT test space, along with their coursework. So we start as young as grade school math, and we go all the way up to calculus 2. So there is a wide range of subjects we offer there.
Okay. Thank you for that. So that's a little bit about professional. We're going to come back to that and talk about that journey. How about some personal stuff? Like how old are you? Where are you from? And a little bit of the background to help us out.
Absolutely. So I am 37 years old. I'm actually going to be 38 this Wednesday. So I'm reminded that I'm 38 years old. And I tend to think it's more 38 years young. I really don't feel that age at all. I honestly feel like I'm in my 20s.
Nice.
It's nice. And I live in New Jersey. So I live in Brick, which is like Ocean County. And then my business is located in Wall Township, which is Monmouth County for people who are unfamiliar with the area. So a lot of my family lives around this area, mostly tri-state area. I have a really large extended family on my dad's side. Recently had a family reunion in North Jersey. It was last Saturday, and it was really great to see everybody, and everybody come together from New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Connecticut.
Okay.
It was really cool.
How many people come to a family reunion for the Kliemisch family?
Oh, if you're including kids, it's got to be 70. It's probably 70.
70?
Yeah, it's nuts, man. It's crazy.
Now, do all of them have such amazing, dark, full hair like you do? Because, I mean, I'm still trying to hold on at 47 to what hair I have left. But you have amazing hair. So do they have nice hair and the rest of the family too?
I think that's one of the fine features of being a Kliemisch is a full set of hair. For the most part. Some people don't. But yes, that is true.
Are there any other special skills or talents that you might have? Any other passionate hobby, special skill, anything else to set the stage?
So a couple things I'm getting into that I used to do a lot more when I was younger. So when I say younger, I say early 20s. I used to play guitar a lot. I'm getting back into that now. I used to be an avid golfer, just starting to pick up a set of clubs again. So if you ask me to go golfing right now, it would probably not be that good, but I'm just letting you know. And I recently, for my office, because all of our rooms, and we'll talk about this later, one of my rooms has a drum set. So I'm learning to just start to play the drums, and it's really cool. And I love it. Some people call it a midlife crisis. I don't think so. I think it's more that I'm just finding a new passion and getting into it. But those are some of my hobbies. I've always been into music. And the reason why I bring up music is because Sometimes people ask me if I'm an introvert or an extrovert, and I say it's a combination of the two, and here's why. I
Mm-hmm.
say that because I think having time to yourself to decompress and to relax is really important, right? And part of that involves listening to music, exploring new types of music, things that I may not have listened to before, or just have an appreciation for. And the reason why I
Yeah.
say I'm an extrovert is because I'm doing a lot of things, both in personal business. I'm a part of 4 business networking groups, dealing with clients every day, working with
Okay.
students. You have to have some of that extrovert personality in order along to go with being an introvert, right? So that's why I say I'm a
Mm-hmm.
mixture of the two.
Good. Thank you. All right. So that gives us a little bit of context. And last thing about context, I am just drawn in like a tractor beam to this giant whiteboard behind you. So for those of you who are listening in the car, that's great. You got to go to YouTube and check out Glenn's background here because he does what I personally do. I have out of sight over here my list of goals on my board. I write them down in a journal. He's got this amazing list of goals and social media posts, just things right here behind him. So can you just tell us a little bit about why do you have your goals written down and just some things written on social media behind you? Just a little bit about that board, please.
Absolutely. So I'm just going to move the camera a little bit for everybody who's on YouTube here, just to kind of see all my goals. So what
Yeah.
prefaces this is one of the things I wanted to do this year was to step outside of my comfort zone and try new things. And a book that I'm currently reading is The 10X Rule by Grant Cardone. I don't know if you're familiar with him, what he does. He has a little bit of an abrasive personality, but I think he is very successful in what he does. And I like his book because it's setting goals that are outside your comfort zone.
Okay.
And instead of setting a goal, like let's just use an example, real estate, for example, okay? Because that's one of the goals I have on my board. So let's say if you wanted to own one multifamily home to have as part of your portfolio, and you wanted to keep that as part of whatever your retirement plan may be or what you're trying to do, instead of saying that you're going to have one, let's multiply it by 10. Let's say you want to get to 10, because even if you don't hit that goal of having 10 properties and you're falling somewhere in the middle, that was more than the expectation that you set initially. So one of the chapters was writing goals in the present tense on a piece of paper, but I decided to put it on a whiteboard, which is in my office.
Mm-hmm.
And I decided to write goals that were all in the present tense, that I have a tutoring center that currently has multiple locations and helps X or Y amount of students. I've written goals on there about real estate, about helping others, community service, personal goals, health goals. They're all on my board. And to the right of that, I wrote things about social media, because one of the things that I was very uncomfortable with doing before the start of this year was social media. As having a business, it's a necessary evil to have. And I decided that, you know what, if we're going to do social media, we're going to do it right. I wrote out all these different types of posts that we wanted to do. So some of the things that we're looking to unveil, which I'll talk about here because we haven't done them yet, but we're kind of waiting on some things. We're going to be doing a lot of SAT and ACT type posts. We're walking you through sample problems, how to do it. We are in the process of getting a smart board, which has been taking forever, but that's a whole other conversation. And what we want to do is a split screen, where half the screen is us doing the problem and the other half has the camera focused on us. That's a different type of video. I think that's going to be really awesome. But we're also going to do fun videos, right? We're going to feature a lot of other businesses in the area. I have a dog. Her name is Juniper. And if you follow us on social media, you'll see her every Friday. In fact, you'll see her today. So we're trying to bring her to all these different businesses to feature her, to not only spotlight other businesses, but you're just seeing us interacting in a different environment than our center.
Yeah.
And another post that we're going to do, which is our big unveiling that we haven't done yet, but we're in the process of trying to do, is we have a drum set in one of our rooms. So we want to record videos of playing the drums. I play guitar, so we'll like take snippets of songs and play it, and that'll be like a fun little snippet to post every Monday. So this way it's something fun, right? When you're watching and you think of a tutoring place, right? A tutoring place is allowed to have fun, right? It shouldn't just be all education and, oh my gosh, you have to stay in this lane, right? We want to do things that are a little bit outside the comfort zone and that stand out, right? Because one school is enough, right? We don't want to create a second school. That's not our goal here. Our goal is to create an environment that's fun, that's nurturing, and
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I went off a little
Yeah.
bit on a tangent there with the
Dude,
board.
I love you're bringing the passion to tutor. You're bringing the passion of what you do, and
Yeah.
I'm attracted to that. I'm like it's magnetizing to me just to be around people that speak with passion. So to hear you talk about it and to see you have written it all down, that's awesome. So kudos to you, my friend. I wish that everyone would do exactly what you have done right there. I wonder what would happen in the world if everyone were to write their goals down and look at them and talk about them more frequently, especially if they're reading books like the 10X rule and whatever goal they have, they're writing down 10X that. It just expands the mind so much. Yeah, I'm certainly appreciative of what you have here on the background. I'd love to shift us to one of the questions that I normally start the show with about challenges. And Glenn, if you could, take us back anywhere in time you'd like to. You can go back to like an hour ago, all the way back to birth. So wide range here. And if you could share with us, what's the most challenging thing that you've experienced this far that you can share that you've had to overcome or endure in your lifetime? We'd love to learn from you, sir. So leave it
That's a
to you.
really good question. So there's a couple different ways that I can go with this, but one that stands out to me. Let's go back to when I was born, right? So obviously going a little personal here, and not everybody knows this, but I'll share it here because I'm comfortable sharing it. I was born about 4 to 6 weeks premature, somewhere around there.
Okay.
And this was around, so I'm 37, about to be 38. So this is rewinding the clock back to 1986. Let's set the stage here a little bit, where special education was on the precipice of being formed. It wasn't totally just there yet. It's not as if we know it today. The reason why I bring that all up is by being born premature, a lot of doctors and skeptics were saying at the time when I was born that I would be very delayed in learning things. I didn't learn to say my first word until I was about 2 years old. So that's pretty late, right? And a lot of doctors were thinking that I'm only going to have the intellectual capability or the wherewithal of somebody who's about 11, 12 years old, right? That was going to be my max. And my mom was saying essentially, that's not going to work. I'm going to do everything that I can to help my son to put him in a position to succeed. So she enrolled me in year-round schooling, summer camps for socialization, to learn life skills, and enrolled me in a bunch of special education programs because her goal was to have me in a mainstream educational program by kindergarten, right? That was the goal. The goal was to not be in special education by kindergarten. Like I could be in a speech program, like, and come out for that. That's different. But to not be in these special education programs, she wanted me to be mainstream by kindergarten. And that goal was achieved, right? That goal definitely happened. And it's really cool to look back on because there was a lot of work. I remember being young and being in programs and camps year round. Like it was every day I was in something 5-6 days a week. And I think there's a lot to be said for that. There's a lot to be said for being put in a position to succeed because, and I tell this to my students, when you're unsure about something, you're unsure about doing something, it's better to know that you tried it and that you gave it your all and you shoot your shot, so to speak, right? Than to not do it, right? And then to wonder what could have been or what could have happened, right? It's a tough thought to have. And that's kind of a mindset that I go into with life now that, I'm going to try something, I'm going to step outside my comfort zone because I'd rather know that I tried it than if I just sat here and was just wondering, well, what if I did this? Or what if I did that? Or what if I expanded my location for my business? Or what if I joined this networking group, right? I'm actually going to go ahead and do it instead of thinking about, I'm not sure, but I really wish I could have done it. It's better to just go ahead and try it.
I love it. So you have internalized the question of what if I, followed by action, where a lot of people they might not even ask, what if I, and they might not even take any action. And they might have a lot of regrets, but you're playing the anti-regret life. It sounds like you're asking big questions and you're taking action, and it's born and it stems from what could have been if you'd let it, or if your mom had let it. It could have been something that would have been stunting your growth, and it feels like it elevated your growth.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would certainly agree there. It's just crazy to look back on and think about, and then to see where I am today to what could have happened, right? I mean, life could have taken a much different path if she didn't help as much as she did back then.
Yeah. Thank you, Mom.
Absolutely.
My mom played a similar role for me too, kind of proactively pushing me to stay involved when it wasn't always socially easy. With the kid that had the big gap in his teeth and the giant glasses and who was more comfortable in a book than he was with people. At least that was me at a younger age. Now I'm pretty comfortable with people because I'm comfortable with me. I wonder on your journey how your just ability to have some inner peace and be comfortable with yourself, I wonder how that was changed because you've learned to take action and ask questions.
Yeah, I think a lot has transpired over the past year. I used to have this mindset or mentality that, and I think we're all guilty of this, but I was especially guilty of it, that if something happened in my life, I adopted this attitude of woe is me, or I kind of felt like bad for myself. And I think we were all guilty of that at one point or another in our lives. But over the past year or so, I've done a lot of reflection on life and looked at, well, instead of adopting this mentality, what can I do moving forward to fix something? Maybe I don't know if fix is the right word, but to readily address it and to learn from it. There's something to be said that everybody in life makes a mistake, right? We all make mistakes.
Yeah.
But smart people learn from them. And we can take away certain things that we can address moving forward. Whether it's something in personal life, if it's business or career, is it something with family, right? There's a lot to be said for that. And as we get older, I think a mindset starts to adopt where life is too short, right? So if I get in a disagreement with somebody, whether it's family or friends, I'm not going to hold on to it. Life is especially way too short to hold on to that. And especially as you get older, it's just, you realize how valuable time is, right? I don't like to harp on things as much anymore. I think there's that shift definitely happened a lot this past year.
What are some of the things that have led to that shift in the past year in your life, Glenn?
That's a really good question. And, I've gone through something personal. Maybe I'll talk about it later. But definitely that caused a lot of self-reflection. And I think what also caused it too was late last year. I was at my brother's house and we were all taking pictures, and I saw pictures of myself and I wasn't especially happy with how I looked. To paint some context, I was putting on some weight. I think that happens as we age and get older, metabolism is not as fast. And while the exact weight loss number wasn't paramount or super important, I wanted to get into the best health and mindset. And that's actually on my board, was to get into the best health and mindset that I've been in. So I decided I'm not just going to address it physically. There's a lot of things I'm going to do. I decided to join a weight loss program. I decided to hire a personal trainer. I started seeing a therapist. I started doing a lot of different things that would help address this. And let's fast forward. Two things I never thought I would do were running and racing events and social media, and I'm doing both of those this year. And as of today, I've lost the number, I guess, is 35 pounds. And it was all natural dieting. Wow. Yeah, it was all natural dieting, personal training, meal plans. And back in May, I did a 5K race. And then I did the Spring Lake 5 Mile, which for some people, you may know that race. It's one of the largest racing events in the country. And it was on Memorial Day weekend. I think there was over 10,000 racers there. I could be wrong. So I'm sure someone from Spring Lake is watching this and fact checking me on that right now as we speak. But I know it was over 10,000 and plus all the guests that attended. And I'm actually doing a 5K a week from tomorrow. So it's pretty cool to do those races and to step outside your comfort zone and do something that initially wasn't something that you were comfortable doing. And it's kind of interesting how a personal life event and then seeing how you look are two catalysts for change, right? Because it's very easy to have these things happen. And all too often when I was younger, you adopt this mindset of feeling, I don't know if it's sorry for yourself, but you almost feel like bad for yourself. And you're wondering, well, why did this happen? Or why did these things happen? But I decided instead of having all of that transpire, doing life a little bit differently. And I have to say, over the past almost year or so, it's been fantastic. Have there been bumps in the road? Absolutely. I'd be lying if I said everything was roses and gumdrops and amazing, right? There's things that happen in your life that definitely shape who you are. But over the last 12 months, I have to say it's been a pretty fantastic journey. So,
wow. I love that you took something from a moment of real challenge in the last year, and through self-reflection after your brother's house event, you took action. Everything you've been talking about so far checks out because you're on the 10x rule, which I have that book on my shelf. It's definitely an action taker's book. And I love that, you're asking, what if I did this? Then you're doing it. And I never consider running, and you're doing it. You even mentioned the word therapy, which would have been a stigmatized word a decade ago or more. And now it's something that's actually, I'm kind of proud of it that I've done therapy too. And it makes me feel good, better, right? So out of all these moments of self-reflection, a lot of good has come from the self-reflection and the actions that have happened as a result of that. So you didn't curl up in a ball and play the victim card for long. You may have been in that moment from time to time, but you right now have come through. And kudos to you, my friend. Yeah, that's a lot to unpack in the last year and a lot of progress that you've made. It's interesting because at the age of 37, I remember now at 47, it was when I was 37 that I started this business that I'm in now, as a business coach. Right. So I was also in a reflective, introspective time about my choices, about my health and physical fitness and all kinds of stuff. So, yeah. And by the way, it was 10 years ago that I met Julie and got married and, started to have a family. So all kinds of things happened. And it was in that age range. Can you look back in your life and see through your highs and through your lows, these moments of reflection and how your path has wound around those? I mean, an example, my dad died when I was 28, real bottom and low. But a lot of good has come from that. And then we rose back up, so to speak. And then maybe got a little bit lazy, hit about 280 pounds, and then lost 57 pounds and, down in the 220 range now. Similar. This is around that same age, right? Around 36, 37 for me. Right. So I wonder, where these moments of self-reflection, how you built an amazing, growing, thriving business out of all of these places. So can you take us back to the beginning of your business and how you got into it and, where you're taking it?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So back in 2000, when was it? 2014, 2015.
Okay.
Setting the stage, I graduated college in 2011 from the College of New Jersey with a math education degree. And your natural progression is when you graduate with that degree is to go to a school and teach, right? Whether that's middle school, high school, etc. And a lot of the jobs that I would apply for were hiring in-house candidates or they knew someone. And sometimes life is a funny way of telling you that, hey, this is maybe not the path for you, but there's something else. I'm not sure what that path is. So I thought, maybe it meant for me to go to graduate school and apply and do all of that. And suffice to say, applied to a couple schools, did not get in. And I'm like, well, okay, so this is not the route for me. So what are we doing here? But I always loved working with students, whether it's a group or small group settings or even one-on-one. So I decided to start tutoring. And I met a family back in 2015, they own a car dealership here in the Wall, Manasquan area, and much thanks to them, they are listening. They own Brian's Auto here in Wall Township. And it was really interesting because they were saying how I was doing a great job and they were going to refer me to their friends and people that they knew. And to be honest, I was a little skeptical because I wasn't sure what was going to happen. I wasn't sure if it was just going to be one or two people. And they're saying, well, you're going to have so many people that you're going to be able to leave whatever it is that you're doing full time, which was an office job at the time, and make this your full time gig. And they were not kidding. I got to a point where I was able to leave an office job full time just to pay the bills and decided to go in on this tutoring. And back then, I would go to people's houses. I was doing house calls. It was just me just doing it. And definitely a lot of long hours. I was doing that model up until about end of 2017, early 2018. I got a small one office space just to try to test out this theory of like, hey, would people come to me? And almost everybody did. And for those that didn't, it was either online or maybe I lost one or two people, but it just made things so much easier. And that was going up until about when COVID came about, which, as we all know, was around March 2020. We had our lockdown. And it was still mostly just me at that time. But the education market was in flux, right? A lot of people needed help during that time.
My school closed that my kids were going to at that time. So, it was definitely an interesting time, challenging time.
There was a lot in flux. But during that time, it just became so much that I started to, and I the reason why I bring up the therapy and stuff too is because I was getting burnout. And burnout is very, very real as an entrepreneur. Actually, about 3-4 weeks ago, I was pushing so hard on so many things that I started feeling those effects again. So I actually took a time out from a couple of things, social media included. I just needed to pump the brakes and just say, okay, I've been down this road before. I know what happens if I keep pushing. And I was really, really considering, and this happened again, a couple of years ago. I've had a couple times where I thought about, what if I just close my business down because I just can't continue this way. It happened during COVID. It happened about 2021, 2022. It happened again. But that experience during COVID taught me a lot that I don't have to do it all myself. I can hire people. I can have staff. I can have other tutors. I don't have to be a one-man show because doing it that way was just so much. It was just so much work. I mean, and, it's easy to say, well, Glenn, you have so much work. You should be grateful. This is a lot to be happy for. Yes, but too much work is not always a good thing because you feel that you have to uphold yourself to a certain standard. And me, I take a vested interest in every kid that we work with, whether it's me working with them or my staff working with them. I have a personal vested interest. That's just how I do things. It's just how I care about our students. And I realized that when things like that happen, it's okay to take a mental reset, a break, a pause, and just relax. So, the most recent case where I felt as if I was on the precipice of encountering burnout, I decided to just take a break from a lot of things and just take mental health days and just take a step away, think about what it is that led me to this point. And then it's not something where it's an overnight fix where you just snap your fingers and you're back in the saddle. That's not how it works. It's a slow rebuild, but I have to say it was about last week. I woke up one morning, Matt, and I was like, wow, I feel pretty good. I kind of feel like before this burnout happened. And ironically enough, that's when we restarted our social media and started back up on doing things. And I think it's important to recognize that if you're doing a lot of things, make sure that you're giving time for yourself, because I've been in the road where you're part of all these networking groups, you're growing your brand, you're growing your business, you're doing things at home for your family, your friends, and you can only do that for so long before something gives. And unless you are carving out time for yourself, that's going to happen a lot quicker than you realize.
Yes, sir.
And
Yes, sir.
there was nothing, there's a definite correlation between I wasn't going to the gym as much and I started encountering burnout. Now I'm going back to the gym 4 times a week, sometimes 5. And I'm noticing carving out
Yes.
that time and doing these things for yourself really helps prevent burnout. And I'm here to say, as an advocate, to take time for yourself. It is so important to do that. I don't believe in true SOS emergencies unless you're a doctor or working in an ER room. So,
Okay.
in my
Okay.
business, even with tutoring, I don't mean this any certain way when I say this, families and students, but there's not a true SOS emergency. Is there something that's urgent? Yes, but it can wait a couple minutes. It can wait a couple hours. We'll get back to you. It's okay to not treat everything as it has to be done immediately.
You know what I love about you, well, amongst a number of things, but one thing I love about you is that you're able to share such a real, heartfelt story that I believe any entrepreneur listening to this will resonate with. And not all of them share it publicly or with a therapist or even with their partner. They just keep it inside. And that alone can multiply the burnout effect even faster and even more painfully. So you're aware of it, you're owning it, you're taking time when needed to handle it. So many great things that I think that any leader can learn from just listening to you speak from the heart here, Glenn. This is good. I wrote down something. Sometimes the best nuggets are the simplest ones, and they're hiding in plain sight, and we all know them, and we don't take action on them. For example, make sure you're having some time for yourself. Simple, right? Well, not necessarily easy to execute on. So I love that you have shared that as well. That's one of the big diamond reflections I'm going to go and journal on is, where might I want to take some more time for myself?
I actually have, let me pull it out of my backpack here. So my backpack is full of things, but it has, and I've done this. I got it recently. My social media mentor recommended I do this, but it's
Okay.
a weekly planner. And let me turn it to maybe a sample page here. Let me see if I can find it. But basically just writing out my agenda for the week. So I kind of did it for last week, not so much this week,
Okay.
but kind of just outlined all my goals and everything. Everything's written out by day. I have a life balance to-do list. What are the habits or skills I want to work on? Personal to-do list. And some people say that, well, that's too much structure. That's too regimented. I'm someone that kind of thrives in chaos and thrives on having a nice structure each day. I kind of leave a day that's open or fluid because as much as I would love to get all these things done every day, things come up where you can't get every single thing done. So I kind of like to have like an overflow day where I realize, well, hey, I didn't get to things from Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. I know that I have a day at the end of the week where I can get all those action items done.
Oh, heck yeah, baby. I love it. I love what you wrote down so much. I have the exact same thing in a different format over here. And for me, I would even go so far as to say, I'm going to marry Grant Cardone's 10X rule with Darren Hardy's compound effect. I'm going to put those two together. And at the end of every business day, I will sit there for the last 10 or 15 minutes. I will look at everything that I accomplished for the day. I'll write out my wins for the day, and I'll write down tomorrow's action list. So I know when I start tomorrow, outside of the regularly scheduled stuff, what am I going to fill in the gaps with? What project? What intentional relationship? So I love that you do it. And again, I love that we have a 10-year age difference, or at least we will when you turn 37 next week on Wednesday. I think that the gap between 37 and 47, for me personally and professionally, Glenn, I grew so much as a result of what you just showed. Having that weekly, daily, what you might want to call it, some type of journal or planner that I can record and capture. Here's where I'm making progress. Here's what the priorities and goals are. And I literally write it in every day. And so quick exercise. If my house were to catch on fire and all the animals and human beings are out and they're alive and they're safe, what am I going to go and grab? Number one answer, I'm going to grab all my journals first. All right, because that's the part that is the legacy for the kids, or it's the legacy for me to see how did I think at 37. All right, just by talking to you today, I'm going to go back and look at my journals and I'm going to go and see what was I thinking when I was 37. All right, and that's fascinating. So in any event, just kudos to you, my friend, for having that journal there, that planner there, and writing in it every day. I just want to amplify that and applaud you for it because, again, I don't think everyone does that, and if everyone were to do more like that, I think we would win more. They reach more of their goals and dreams. So I'd finish with this. I like the 100% structured with 100% flexibility when needed. Yeah, that's my quote or my thought that I learned from my business partner 12 years ago. So
Actually, really good
anyways,
quote. That's really good.
well, it helps me to overcome what I would call the perfectionism, and in going through a lot of therapy and a lot of work on this perfectionism. And I'll maybe this is a botched Brene Brown quote, but perfectionism is your inner shame, attempt to hide anything that you might be shameful for if you didn't do it that way. So if I wanted to hide this inner shame that I may have, i.e., I am a control person and I want to have control of this, I want to have it nice and structured and organized, I've learned to let go of that perfectionism, that any perceived shame, by just taking a one day at a time approach and just try to make a little bit of progress each and every day. And for me, that and a lot of deep breathing and meditation and journaling has helped me to overcome that. And I didn't have that ability at 37. In the last 10 years, through the therapy and a lot of journaling, it's come to fruition. Now we got peace of mind. And that's where that's weight in gold. What do you think about any of that stuff? I know I just went off on a tangent there. Anything resonate or connect with you or oppose to any of that?
There was something that you said earlier. It really stood out to me, and I was thinking about this with having 100% structure, but also 100% flexibility.
Yeah.
That's really, really important, because sometimes people will ask you, well, if you have 100% structure, how do you allow for any flexibility? And my caveat to that is this. So being a small business owner, having structure is very important. Now, of course, things are going to come up, fires we have to put out that we don't anticipate. But by having that structure in place, it's very easy to not have the structure and just say, I don't have to do anything today. I don't have to worry about today. I could just coast along. But instead, I love to write things down and say, okay, I'm going to do X, Y, Z. Okay, I'm going to write a lot of things down, because even if I don't get all of them done, I know that I did a couple of things, which was really good, right? It was good to get those things done. But on the weekends, I allow for more flexibility and spontaneity. So let's say if there's a family gathering or an event with friends, or one of my business networking groups is doing something on a weekend night, and maybe I don't have plans then, right? I'm able to do it. And I'm finding that especially during the summer, almost every weeknight, I'm either doing something here for work, doing a business networking event. I try to make sure that there's one weekend night or weekday night that I'm like not doing something. So it gives me time to breathe, do stuff at home, relax, unwind. I have a rescue dog. Her name is Juniper. She's absolutely lovely. So I want to make sure I spend time with her. She's really important to me. But I just think it was really interesting you said that, because it's finding that balance between the structure and the flexibility.
Yeah. Yeah. A story comes to mind that still hits near and dear to my heart. It was February 3rd, 2015. And I'm driving down for the first conference as a coach, as a business coach, and I've been invited to speak on stage. And my business partner, CEO of our coaching company, is taking me down in his Porsche, which is a brand new car. It's like super freaking fast. And I am usually the person in any vehicle that is the driver. I normally drive. That's a level of maybe control that I want to have, is driving. So my partner's driving, and he's going fast, much faster than I would ever go in my own car, or much less ride in someone else's car. So we're going like 100 miles an hour plus in this car. And I'm like over there, structured Matt, follow the rules, follow the system. And I'm like, this is not right. And I'm like, I'm opposed to doing it this way. And I'm so focused on how he's not doing it the way that I would have done it, that I'm missing out on just this amazing vehicle, this experience that I could be involved in here on the highway. It's not like it's raining and there's a bunch of cars around. I mean, it's pretty wide open, straight shot, 85 South, right down to Atlanta from where I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. So, but I'm missing that because it has to be a certain way. Things have got to be perfect the way that I want them, and go back to my partner over here, who basically has a kind of an avatar of Grant Cardone. He is a strong action taker, just practical. You give him an assignment, he doesn't make a plan, he just goes and just takes action. And I need the perfect plan. So I'd say in the last 10 years, from 37 to 47, what I've learned from being around that person that used to stress me is I've learned that 100% structure, 100% flexibility, because in the flexibility is where that growth opportunity is, because that's out of my comfort zone. So back to your original point of getting out of your comfort zone, you write things on there that are out of your comfort zone. Letting go of control was the key lever that I didn't know was holding me back. I thought it was saving me, and really it was protecting me from feeling shame. So here we are at 47 talking about perfectionism and letting go. And now I find that the beauty is in the flexibility. And yeah, I got a structured plan. I say what though? If let's just say I'm planning to go out to dinner last night with my wife and I finish work, she's like, I don't want to do that anymore. I just want to stay home on the couch at our last night before the kids come home, and I just want to hang out. I've been looking forward for us walking 3 miles to dinner, then walking home just to get some exercise together. But the flexibility, just, you know what good, what amazing can happen in this pivot? That's the kind of like the default question in my mind. And yeah, amazing happened. So I share all that with you, Glenn, just because you touched me when you said 100% structure, 100% flexible, and how that kind of related to you. That's where it came from for me. That's what I had to overcome to have a real impact. And now at 47, I have this great peace of mind that the pivots don't stress me anymore. They used to a lot. So thank you for letting me have some time to talk about that out loud. I guess that's my own version of therapy, of working through your stuff and sharing it out loud,
Absolutely. I think we're creating a safe space here where you're able to share and I'm able to share as well. That's something it's interesting you bring that up. One thing I really want to work on this past year, I think when you communicate with somebody, when you have a conversation, it's the ability to articulate yourself, but it's also being an effective listener. And all too often, I would communicate on my mind what was going on, but I wouldn't at least listen or hear just what the other person had to say. And I really made it an effort this past year to really listen to everything that somebody is saying. Because sometimes in a conversation, we can listen to what somebody's saying, and then we just focus on like what maybe somebody brought up initially. And then they can start talking, and then it's like that Charlie Brown, want. We're not hearing what that other person has to say. So that was a goal of mine, was to really work on being a more effective listener. And maybe that's happening right before our eyes right here. You never know.
I think it is, because I saw the way that you're listening, and I can see on your board, one of your goals is to have closer relationships to people that are close to you. And how do you do that? Well, one way is listening. So I think that you're well on your way, and you've helped me on my way. So a lot of positive forward progress today, my friend. Glenn, help me understand, or help our listeners know, where can we find out more about you? Where might be a website, social media places? Where is the place to find out about your tutoring company, find out about you, connect with you?
Great question. So my company name is called MST Tutoring, which stands for Math, Science, and Test Preparation. So first, you can follow us on our website, which is msttutoring.com.
Okay.
And you can check us out on Instagram, which is mst.tutoring. So we post daily content videos. Some of the things we include on there are tutor spotlights, study tips. One post that I'm really proud of that is kind of become a passion project of mine is a Throwback Thursday record spin. So one of our tutoring rooms has all vinyl records on the wall. And we have a record player in there that was from my late uncle and godfather, who unfortunately passed away late last year. But it's a lasting memory that I have of him. It's an old Pioneer vinyl record player from 1966, 1967. It's around there, and it still works. It's great, and that thing it's amazing. And what we like to do with those social media posts is we play a record, and then underneath our little caption is I write something about the song. And it's actually the one post a week where I am actually personally writing part of the caption. So usually my staff or my social media point person, virtual assistant, is usually in charge of all the other stuff. But this is the one thing where I take the lead on, write on it a little bit. And it really means a lot to me. And the reason why I bring that up is with our social media posts, we try to create a combination of stuff that's informative and also stuff that tries to entertain. So the posts about my dog and the records, those are entertaining posts. But more so in the beginning of the week, we have more of our study tips, our tutor spotlights, information that might be about the SAT or ACT. Actually, I'm going to record early next week. There are some changes that are coming to the ACT exam. I'll promote them on here as well. So the ACT starting in March of 2025, you have the option to take it either paper and pencil or online digitally. You can take it on the computer. They're dropping the fourth section, which is the science section. Instead of required, it's now optional. So now the only sections you have to take, yes, this is really interesting. So the only sections you officially have to do starting next year are the English, the math, and the reading. And across those three sections, Matt, they're actually dropping over 40 questions across the three sections. I think it's 44 questions they're shortening it by. I don't have exact counts on how much they're reducing it per section, but they're trying to make the test the same length as the SAT. Because the SAT now is only a little over 2 hours. So the ACT is trying to combat this by making their sections shorter and then removing one of the sections entirely, making it optional. So just really interesting what's going on here. But that's the goal of our social media, right? It's to inform people of these changes, but we also want to make things entertaining. So that's why we have the record posts about Juniper and some other things that we have alluded to earlier.
Okay. So msttutoring.com. And then on Instagram, it's mst.tutoring are the places to find you and to see your content and to connect with you. Glenn, we've made it to the lightning round here to wrap things up today. And I've got 3 last questions for you. One of them, I'm going to ask you to think about books that you've read or books you'd recommend. What might be 1 to 3 books that you would recommend to our audience today?
It's a great question. So I'm going to do 3. First book I would recommend is The 10X Rule by Grant Cardone for goal setting. If you are a small business owner, I recommend The E-Myth. It's a great book.
Classic.
Yep. And I'm debating on a couple of options for the third book. But the third book I'm going to go with is something that I actually read a long time ago, but I feel like now it's having more an effect on me than it did back then. And I forget the author of the book, so this is maybe not the best way to lead into this, but it's called The Secret. And it talks about the law of attraction, where you have this belief that if something good is going to happen, well, it will. But if we always feel that, oh, man, I can't find a parking spot here, or, I'm on this long line at a Starbucks or here in New Jersey, Rook Coffee, which I highly recommend you go to if you're in New Jersey. You always feel like, oh, man, I'm always like not getting these tickets online. I might find this parking spot. I always got to wait a long time. You start having this belief system that these things are not happening for you. Well, it's going to happen. But if we have this belief system that, I'm going to find that parking spot, even though I'm going to Costco on a Saturday and it is jam-packed here, I am on the hunt. I'm going to find this spot close to the store. I'm going to do it. I'm going to win. Yes, it can happen. Right? That's the idea of this third book. And I love it. I think it's great, right? Because it's adopting a positive mindset.
I love it. My wife, by the way, calls that process the dance. Uh-oh, Daddy's starting the dance. Because I've got to find a good spot. Or I might just park in the back of the lot and make us all walk because I'm not going to get dinged. But either way, the dance. The Secret. Thank you for bringing it because I haven't heard that one in a long time. Thank you. Let's go to music. If you're a music person, is there a song, genre, or a particular artist that really fills your bucket, Glenn?
So my musical tastes are all over the place, and I am probably going to be chastised for some people here that I will just tell you the genre that I can't really get into, and it's country. I've tried so many times, and I'm sure I have staff right now that are in the other room that are probably hearing me say I don't listen to country, and they're probably rolling their eyes right now. But
revolt!
I've really tried. I just can't get into it. But right now, I think my musical tastes go anywhere from pop music and Taylor Swift to alternative music to electronic dance music to hard rock and heavy metal. If I listed some of my favorite artists right now, it is so all over the place that it's crazy. One band that I really always gravitate towards. There's a couple. There's two of them, and I've seen multiple concerts by both of these bands, which is why I love them so much, are Tool and Nine Inch Nails. And the reason why I bring those two bands up is because their musical composition, their lyrics are just so true and authentic. And some of their songs are very abrasive and a tough listen. I get it. It is not the easiest music to listen to, but it is genuine and it is heartfelt. And some of the songs that they have written have been true staples that have stood the test of time. And seeing concerts by both of them are absolutely amazing. So if they ever go on tour again, highly recommend that you check them out. They're amazing.
Awesome. Thank you. We're down to the last question here, Glenn. I'll ask, and then I'll give you the final word. You are on the Eternal Optimist podcast. What might the words Eternal Optimist mean to you, Glenn?
It's a good question. I think it's part of a mindset that I've been starting to adapt over the past year. And here's how I look at it. It is never too late to be optimistic about your life. It's never too late to start. And it's always seeing something where you're optimistic, you're happy. We're always entitled to have a bad day. We're always entitled to have a day where we're not optimistic. But long term, and in our life moving forward, it's having this optimistic outlook on life. Life is too short to think negatively all the time or to not have an optimistic outlook on life. So that is my interpretation of it, is that it is never too late to start. And long term, at least long term, having an optimistic outlook on our life. Because of course there are peaks and valleys, right? If we look at anything, whether it's weight loss, if it's rating our moods, it's not this straight incline or this straight decline. There's ebbs and flows to it. There's peaks and valleys, as I just mentioned. So to answer your question in short, it's being optimistic, but for the long term.